Okay, so what if I told you that one single drink, a dark, bitter drink, helped build, well, pretty much the foundations of modern society?
It sounds like an exaggeration, right?
It does. But we're talking about how we debate, how we trade, even how we invent. And this drink, coffee, and the places where people drank it, they were absolute game changers.
We're talking about the coffee houses of the 17th and 18th centuries. And if you need a modern comparison, just think of it like this.
Go on.
It's like you mashed up Twitter, the New York Stock Exchange, and a top university, and crammed it all into one busy, smoky room.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a shortcut to understanding how power and knowledge started moving away from, the king and the church.
And into the hands of ordinary citizens. Well, often prosperous citizens, but still.
Right. And this didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Coffee itself didn't even start in Europe.
No. The first coffee houses were actually in the Middle East, centuries earlier. There were these new social spots for men to gather and talk.
So by the time coffee finally gets to, say, London in the mid-1600s, society was sort of ready for it. People needed a public place to meet that wasn't, well, a pub.
Exactly. Which brings us to what they were replacing. Before coffee, where did men go to socialize and do business?
The tavern or the ale house?
And the main drink there was ale. The result of that was, frankly, a lot of drunkenness and probably some pretty bad decisions.
That's the key difference, isn't it? If you're trying to debate philosophy or map out a global trade route, you need to be sharp.
You need to be alert. The caffeine in coffee gave them that. It was this stimulating effect that helped people stay focused for hours.
So it wasn't just about the drink itself. It was about the whole culture around it. The coffee house meant productivity, hard work.
A total contrast to the leisure and stupor of the alehouse. This was a place for your mind.
And what did these places actually look like? Were they fancy?
Not at all. They were incredibly simple. Most were just basic rooms with long wooden tables. The goal wasn't luxury.
It was about packing people in, maximum conversation.
And that leads to the most important part, the price. A cup of coffee cost about 1 penny.
Just a single penny. That meant almost anyone could afford to get in, from the wealthiest merchant down to, a simple shopkeeper.
And that's how they got that incredible nickname. The penny universities.
I love that name.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
You pay your penny, you walk in, and you could hear a lawyer arguing, a philosopher explaining a new idea, or a sailor telling stories from across the Atlantic. It was education for everyone, in real time.
So if we could step into one, say in London around 1680, what would it be like?
Oh, it'd be a total sensory overload. Loud, intense debates everywhere.
The smell of roasting coffee beans, I imagine.
And lots of tobacco smoke, for sure.
Yeah.
It would seem chaotic, but it was a productive chaos.
It had to be. Because these rooms, they were the main hubs for information. Long before newspapers were a daily thing, this was the internet. This is how you found out what was going on.
People went there specifically for news. They were relying completely on who walked through that door. Think about what a merchant needed to know back then.
And what's the price of sugar in the Caribbean? Did the government just pass a new tax?
Exactly. Has my ship returned safely to the port? All of that information was flowing through the coffee house.
And it was so efficient because you had everyone in one place. Merchants and sailors brought news from overseas.
Right, from across the Mediterranean, the Atlantic. And because you also had politicians, scientists, and traders there, you could get updates on everything in a single morning.
And it wasn't just spoken news, was it?
No, that's a key point. They had written materials, too. Early newsletters, sure, but also things like shipping schedules, price lists, even handwritten letters from other countries.
So they would just leave them on the tables for people to read.
Or post them on the walls. It was almost like a competition to be the most informed person in the room.
I can see that. A merchant might go to 5 or 6 different houses in one day just to gather information before making a big deal.
And they had to. You'd hear a rumor in one place, then go to another to see if you could get it confirmed. It led to these really intense debates at the tables.
So all of this meant that the public was becoming much more informed and maybe a bit more skeptical of rumors.
They were becoming more discerning, absolutely.
And this gets to the idea that really makes these places revolutionary. The whole concept of the public sphere.
Let's break that down. A public sphere is basically just a neutral space. It's where private citizens can get together without the government watching over them to discuss things that affect everyone.
Okay. So before the coffee house, where did important discussions happen?
They happened in private, either behind the closed doors of a rich person's home or formally at the royal court. The coffee house just shattered that whole system.
It created a public stage for debate.
And it came with a radical new rule for social interaction, something unheard of at the time.
Which was?
Equality of argument. When you walked in, you just sat in the first empty seat you saw.
Think about that. In the 17th century, a society built on rank and class. A duke might end up sitting right next to a tailor.
And in that coffee house, your title didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the strength of your argument.
So a nobleman could state his opinion, but if a shopkeeper had better facts, maybe a note he just got about new trade laws, the room would listen to the shopkeeper.
Exactly. That mixing of social classes was just so powerful, it built a real sense of community.
And the big impact of all this was the creation of, well, public opinion. For the first time, really.
Yes. When regular people feel they have a right to debate how the country is being run, they start to gain real influence. The coffee house was the bridge between private life and the government.
And this wasn't just talk. These places were factories for actual real-world innovation, especially in business.
Oh, absolutely. The financial world basically grew up in coffee houses. Many famous institutions like Lloyd's of London, the giant insurance market.
It started in a coffee house, right?
Started in a small coffee house on Tower Street, run by a guy named Edward Lloyd.
That's such a great story. It makes perfect sense. Why run all over a crowded city when you can find your partners and insurers in one spot?
Merchants would literally sign contracts on the tables. They'd buy insurance for their ship's cargo. They'd hire crews.
And the insurance part is fascinating. A ship owner posts the details of his voyage.
And the investors, the people betting on the ship's safe return, would sign their names underneath the details.
That's where the term underwriting comes from. They were writing their names under the risk.
That's it. And because news traveled so fast in that room, they could react instantly to changes in the market. It was the beginning of modern global capitalism.
But to get all this serious business done, you needed a serious atmosphere.
And they had rules for that. Many houses posted rules on the wall. No swearing, no gambling, no fighting.
It kept things focused. And combined with the sobriety from the coffee, it made them respectable places.
The political impact was just as huge. I mean, these were the perfect places for people to gather and complain about new taxes or the king's latest decision.
And the people in power definitely noticed.
Oh, they noticed. In 1675, King Charles II got so scared of these places, he called them hotbeds of conspiracy, that he tried to ban them.
He tried to shut down every coffee house in England.
The whole country. He understood that this new public sphere was a direct threat to his authority. If people could gather and criticize him freely, he couldn't rule without being challenged.
It didn't work.
The public outcry was massive. People relied on these places for their business, for their news. Charles had to back down just a few days later. It's a huge moment.
It shows the power of a collective voice.
It really does. And we can't forget science either.
Yeah.
The Royal Society, the most prestigious group of scientists.
They didn't just stay in their labs.
No, they'd meet informally in coffee houses to continue debates, show off new inventions, display exotic plants from their expeditions.
So science was moving out into the public eye. Regular people could watch a physics demonstration.
Which was crucial. It democratized knowledge and encouraged people to think based on evidence and logic, a cornerstone of the Enlightenment.
So we have all this freedom, equality, innovation. But there was one very big, very serious limitation here.
A huge one. Coffee houses in London were almost exclusively for men.
Women were not welcome as customers.
Generally, no. You might see a woman working as a waitress or maybe even an owner, but they were shut out of the conversations.
Which means they were shut out of the groundbreaking business and political discussions that were shaping the world.
It limited their access to power, to capital, to influence. Some women even published a women's petition against coffee.
What did it say?
They complained the drink made their husbands boring and kept them away from home.
So even with all this success, the classic coffee house eventually started to fade away by the end of the 1700s. What happened?
It wasn't one single thing, more like a slow decline. First, tea became more popular.
And you can make tea at home pretty easily.
Exactly. You didn't need to go out for a hot drink anymore. At the same time, that social mixing started to reverse.
The rich wanted their own spaces again.
The open coffee houses were replaced by exclusive private clubs that you had to pay a lot to get into.
And finally, technology caught up.
Right. The daily newspaper was born. Now you could get the latest printed news delivered to you. The coffee house lost its main purpose as an information hub.
But even though those original penny universities are gone, their legacy is, well, it's everywhere.
It's permanent. They created the model for how we share information and debate ideas in public today. They proved the value of an open, diverse intellectual conversation.
So here's a thought to leave you with. What's the modern penny university?
Hmm, good question. What place or maybe what digital platform serves that role today? Where can anyone from any background show up and share ideas that influence public opinion, where the only price of entry is, a simple click?
Think about that. We'll see you next time.